Alrighty. Let me see. Mic check, mic check. We're good. Okay, 1 second. Y'all bear with me just for a moment. Just for a moment. Almost got this set up. Okay. Alrighty. What's going on? What's going on? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live Carolina Panthers talk here on the U to the Tube and the Facebook. My name is Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram. It is Saturday, September 21st of 2024. Hope everybody's had a good week. The weekend is here. Hope everybody's doing well and good health. Jeff R., good evening. Forest City Kitty, good evening. Keep pounding to you both. So, we're going to have some fun tonight. We got another preview. Week 3. Going to be on the road once again, taking on a team that we really haven't had a lot of luck in the last number of matchups against them. But I got a feeling this Sunday will be different, as we will be taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, mind you, the last time that we beat the Raiders, I want to say was 2012? Or no, definitely not 2012. I know it was when we had Cam Newton. I know we've lost to them with Cam Newton, but we've also beat them with Cam Newton. So it's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute since we've beaten the Raiders. The Raiders have kind of had our number, the last number of matchups. So, as a matter of fact, let's actually look. So, the last time the Panthers beat the Raiders was 2012. Okay, it was 2012. So we lost the last 2 meetings against them, and we beat them in 2012. So yeah, we did have Cam Newton. So yeah, so it's been a while. This is not a team that we've played a lot over the years. Only 7 matchups. Only 7 matchups. Uh, they are 4-3 against the Panthers. So, like I said, not a whole lot of matchups between these two teams. Let's see. Forest City Kitty says we're gonna whoop the Raiders. I believe so. I'm actually predicting this as a win. Jeff R says excited again, just ready to see what life after Bryce is like. Yeah, we're gonna get a taste. We're gonna get our first taste of it tomorrow, that's for sure. Forest City Kitty says the good old days. You know it. You know it. Let me go ahead and oh yeah, I need to send the info to there we go. But yeah, Corey should be joining shortly once he gets set up. But yeah, we got quite a matchup here, but I think it's a very winnable matchup. Andy Dalton is like I was saying to my friends. Andy Dalton's demeanor in that press conference, that dude was all smiles. He looked hungry. He looked ready. He looked ready. And you have to also keep in mind, Andy Dalton is 4-0 against the Raiders. So I can imagine that him clamoring at the bits to get this victory definitely seems inevitable in his eyes. And I don't blame him. Mr. Gemini, welcome to the stream. I feel like Brock Bowers is going to be a mismatch. Perhaps. Perhaps. Also got to watch out for Max Crosby. But, it's definitely we don't want to underestimate the matchup cuz I know we've struggled in the first 2 weeks, but still I think we do have a shot at this game. But yeah, we're definitely going to get into it. It's been kind of a rough day. I lost power in certain parts of my home, but yet I have power in my room and living room, and yeah, it's weird. It's really, really weird. So, yeah, it's been kind of a rough day, but we are here. We are carrying on. I got my boba tea. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good. Wait a minute. Where's my mouse at? Here we go. Mr. Gemini says the Raiders have no run game. Oh, yeah? Well, I know they haven't really been able to do much on the run. That's for sure. I know they got I don't know. Honestly, I'm still kind of shocked that they let Josh Jacobs go, but yeah, it is what it is. But they definitely got offensive weapons though with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. I mean, those are definitely two names that jump out at me. Um and like I said, the defense, I mean, they got a little something something on defense, but I still think this is a very winnable game. I think this is a very winnable game. So I feel honestly I feel good. I feel good about this game. I really do. I'll also be watching it with my dad because my dad's a Raiders fan. So I'll be watching that with him. So looking forward to it. Um, but yeah, Corey says he should be on in a few minutes. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. And when you think about it, we haven't won a game on the road in a whole season. You know what I mean? Mr. Gemini says, "What would you say if Andy doesn't have a good game?" Well, then I guess it ain't just Bryce then. I guess that's all I can say to that. But I don't know. I really got a strong feeling that's not going to be the case. I mean, he even did well even in defeat when he last played, and it was a day and night difference. You know what I mean? So I'm confident that he'll have a good game. I really do. Joe Valesco says, I think Dave Canales can bring back Pro Bowl Dalton. He did it with Geno Smith. Why can't he do it with Dalton? Uh, that's a little difficult. That's a little difficult, Joe Valesco. I get what you mean, but first off, Geno Smith is younger than Andy Dalton. I mean, Andy Dalton's getting ready to turn 37. And you got to also keep in mind, Andy Dalton hasn't been to the Pro Bowl since 2016. Geno Smith went to the Pro Bowl back to back in 2022, 2023. I'm just saying, like 2016 was the last time Andy Dalton went to the Pro Bowl, dude. Like that's a pretty big gap. It's 2024. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's a fair comparison. I don't think that's a fair comparison. Um, Mr. Gemini said, and the last time we won a road game was in 2022. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We didn't win a single road game last year. Those two wins were both at home against the Texans and the Falcons. So it was against the Saints. Oh yeah, the last game of 2022, right? Yeah. The score was very low, but uh did well enough to win apparently. Just the score was very very low. But but yeah, I got a good feeling about this game though. And main thing is don't turn the ball over cuz I mean when Andy last played, he didn't turn the ball over. Like I feel like if he can mimic exactly what he did in that Seattle game, we should be fine. We threw the ball a lot in that game, but I think we should be fine. I really do. And I think the run game can get going as well. Like I said, Max Crosby, he's going to be one to really defend against, especially on the pass rush. Ah, there's Corey.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, you good?
Yeah. Finally in here, man. Finally in here.
Cool deal. So sorry about the delay. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with my place, but like parts of the house has no power. But yet my room, the living room, and like a few other areas have power. I have no air conditioning, so
Oh, that sucks.
yeah. But I've reported the outage, so hopefully it works out. Like my backyard light is out, the street light closest to me is out, so yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah. So I got a I got one of those cooling fans. You know how you can put cold water and ice in it and it'll help cool the room. I got one of those going
Right.
and I got my ceiling fan on. So I should be good. I should be good.
Cool.
But but yeah. So, do you have a very good feeling about tomorrow?
I think it's going to be an interesting game. We've got Andy Dalton in, and there were a couple of moves that were made throughout the week. Um, in particular with Iku, but we'll get to that in a second. Um, Shout out to Marcos Cash. He says, "Yo."
Yo.
Um, But yeah, the Raiders do have some weaponry in their secondary, so we do need to be aware of that. Um, so I don't know how much we're going to be throwing deep if we do at all, but don't sleep on the Raiders. I'm telling y'all that right now. Do not sleep on the Raiders. They may look like a stagnant team, but they're a sleeping giant. If you come in there unprepared, they will wipe you out. So, and the last 2 weeks we came in unprepared. We
Right.
were not able to handle the Saints, which we had no idea they were that amped up and powered up. With all the weaponry that they had,
For reals.
and they just took down Dallas last week. So I mean, there's your proof of that. So the Saints are for real. They're probably going to win this division if they stay healthy for 3/4 of the year. And then you have the Chargers last week, who have typically been better than the Raiders in the last uh, handful of years.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to keep an eye open, you know. And the Raiders have been known to surprise the Chargers every once in a while
Mm-hmm.
and get a win. So this is a team that is a sleeping giant and one that should not be underestimated. So I think if we come in and we put up about 280 yards, probably is the target number. I think for Derek Anderson. Um, I'm not expecting 300 out of that secondary, but I am expecting maybe 250 to 280 range.
Hmm.
And we come out of the gate running the ball. We do what we're supposed to do. We move down the field. This is going to be a different offense than what we're looking at with Bryce. They're going to shift that around and they're going to call different plays for him, for Andy. So I think it's tricky, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I definitely expect to see a whole different look out there on that field for sure. So I have to agree. Mr. Gemini says, did you hear about Tyrese Maxey taking Bryce's girlfriend? I had no idea.
No, I did not. I did not
That's
hear about that.
that's wild. Dang. But yeah, I did not hear about that. Um, we have a very interesting injury report. So Shy Tuttle is doubtful.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
So
This is the first I'm hearing about this today.
yeah,
So,
it was on the Friday injury report. He missed 3 straight practices, and
ooh.
yeah, he's doubtful. And y'all know that's our nose tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we got a couple of folks questionable. Ashawn Robinson, safety Lonnie Johnson, and Nick Scott. They are questionable.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Nick
ooh,
Scott is a big one. Um, because right now Xavier Woods is not getting it done at safety. We've seen him try to come up for some run stopping plays, but really, when it came down to secondary help,
uh huh,
he has not been getting it done. He gave up a touchdown. He, it's when J.C. Horn expected him to be there, he was not there. And Shaq too,
right,
because when you got both of these guys here that are have their hands full, with the wide receiver, and
uh,
Shaq has known coverage issues. This is where you need that safety help over the top. Woods has got to be there,
right.
and he wasn't last week. So I'm getting a little concerned with this. This is where I need Xavier Woods to step up.
Yeah, provide that over the top help.
And Nick Scott is part of that safety group that's supposed to come in and help out too. with Ashawn Robinson, you're losing a little bit of pass rush ability, but not much because we haven't been doing much at pass rushing right now. As far as Lonnie Johnson, I mean, that's a practice injury. That's yet another practice injury.
Yikes.
Um, yeah, I don't. At some point, you got to start questioning what are we doing during practices. That's causing these injuries. And it's been a number of years since it's been happening. Half our injuries come out of practice, more than half actually. Not even on the actual field.
Oof.
So yeah, it's a pattern, and you got to start looking at the strength and conditioning coach. You got to start looking at what drills are we running. You know, I
Yeah.
started asking that question a while back, and if you think back, Ron's uh, trainer actually got investigated
Oof. Oh
at
man.
one point. So because well, honestly, it was both of their faults. It was both him and Ron because Ron was trying to play the hot hand players. Even
Hmm.
if they were injured, it's like, yeah, what these players give us the best chance to win, even
Hmm.
though they are severely limited. And it's like, okay, how badly do you want to save your job? Because at that point, he was in desperation mode the last 2 years. So that's what he ended up having to do.
Yeah. It definitely seems that way. Definitely seems that way. Uh,
Um, and with Derek Brown, we are missing Derek Brown horribly.
yeah, that's our best defensive player. Like just
This Raiders team ranks almost dead last in rushing, and without Derek Brown, they're still going to rack up at least 150 on us.
yeah, they haven't been running the ball too well, but like you said, we kind of have some holes there on the D line. So, yeah, that could be an issue.
And with Shy Tuttle getting hurt now, that's not helping things at all.
Hey,
That's making things way worse.
hey, what's
What's
up,
going on, fellas?
Chad? What's going on? Welcome,
What's going
welcome.
on, man?
Oh, walking the dog. How you guys doing?
Doing
We're
good.
doing all right.
Awesome.
How you
That's good.
feeling?
That's good.
How you feeling?
Always good. Feeling good, man. I'm feeling good about tomorrow. I think we're going to see some stat increase on some of the guys. I think Chuba's going to have a hell of a game. I think we're going to finally see Deontay Johnson have, some uptick. I think Thielen's going to come out and run that slot like he's supposed to. And I'd like to actually see a little bit of Sanders out there.
Yeah, okay. Nice, nice. So,
I like Sanders in short yardage situations, honestly.
Not Miles Sanders.
Oh, okay.
Jatavion. Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha,
Jatavion.
gotcha.
Yeah. That's who I think I'm. I think that with Dalton likes to lean on some tight ends. He likes to spread the ball. He's gonna drop.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna step into the pocket. I think it's a good move. It's not the move none of us really wanted to see from the get go of the year, but I mean, when you got a
Mm-hmm.
rookie quarterback basically still just going through three head coaches, three
Hmm.
different offensive schemes. Right now, it's time for the Red Rocket to come out and just be fundamental, right?
Yeah. So, very interesting. So Raiders,
Little bug.
the Raiders aren't a team that I mean, this will be the eighth matchup between us with the Raiders. So it's kind of a rare matchup with the
Yeah,
Pan
what's our overall record?
4-3 Raiders.
Oh, okay.
So
So we're pretty close.
yeah, the last time we beat the Raiders was 2012 with Cam.
Right.
That
Uh
makes sense.
and we lost the last two meetings with the Raiders. But I think a very big stat to note is, of course, Andy Dalton. He's 4-0. against
Correct.
the Raiders. He's never lost against the Raiders in his NFL career. So,
Well, and the Raiders are pretty. So I listened today on CBS radio,
uh-huh.
and a lot of people, some of the analysts on there, it was Sport Talk Radio, wasn't a televised deal. They were actually talking to one of the, I guess, one of the local analysts for the Raiders, and he's like, "This is a trap game for us, 100%." He was like, "Our running game is abysmal." He goes, "The Panthers' run defense has not been great." He goes, "But our pass rush is not good. Which Gardner Minshew are we going to get?" There's a lot of questions, and he doesn't like it. And he was to the point where if it's a 6.5 point differential, he goes, "I'm taking the Panthers on that all day." He goes, "This is going to be a different team."
Interesting.
This is their own analysts, like from their side, from the Vegas side.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Sounds like somebody's being brutally honest.
Well, he
Um,
was, and
I
he was
like
even
it.
saying, he goes, he even said, yeah, the win against the Ravens was very nice. He goes, but it was a fluke.
oh,
He's like, this
ooh,
isn't the team we have. He
Ooh.
said that was a fluke. He was
dang,
like, we shouldn't
Wow.
have won that game. They're the better team.
dang.
Both of these teams have, poor management. He was not questioning Tepper's heart and wanting to win. He was questioning Tepper's way of wanting to win. So I mean, he wasn't slamming either one of them, but he was also talking about Mark Davis's very similar.
Ah,
Not as bad as Al
Ah.
Davis. They both have the heart. They both want to win.
mm-hmm.
Um, he goes, but he goes. I just got a bad feeling on this week with the Panthers coming in with a whole new. He was like, Andy Dalton is going to come in and he's going to put up similar performance that he did against Seattle last year. He may not throw for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns, but they're gonna control the ground with Chuba because their run defense is terrible in Oakland, kind of like ours is. I'm looking for Chuba and the slot receivers to have a good game this week, and I'm looking for whatever tight end is going to be out there producing the hot hand is going to have a decent game, and I think it's going to be Sanders. Honestly,
Hmm.
Mm.
my opinion.
So, uh,
Interesting take.
so I know you had mentioned about the run defenses and whatnot, and I don't know if you heard Chad, but Shy Tuttle is listed as doubtful.
I have seen that, yes.
So,
Which I mean, at this point, the way the defense has looked in general, in my opinion, I don't.
Hmm.
I'm still skeptical on what's going on with the defense. I mean, looking at the PFF overall, our offensive line, even through two abysmal losses, is still ranked in like the top 10 in the NFL.
uh-huh.
If you
PFF
believe that's
wise.
a top 10 offensive line after these past two games, you're not watching the game properly.
Well, no, Corey, I'm watching the game. I'm saying that's a PFF standpoint.
Not everything is being recorded by
I,
the PFF. I got
I
to
get
push
it,
back on that one.
dude. Trust me, I totally agree with that. What I'm saying is PFF to me is only about 60% of the coverage. Um, we have a week where Icky looks terrible. Moton the first week was a statue. The second week, his
Right.
actual rating went up a lot more, where
Hmm.
Icky's went down. So, but like our guys like Damian Lewis and Hunt, these guys have been strongholds. I
I,
mean,
I will agree on the guards. The guards have been
right.
strongholds.
So I
Yeah.
mean, and
And it's more than just four pressures, though.
it is a lot more than that, but still, that just also goes back to, and I'm not going to slam Bryce because I'm high on Bryce, but
Right.
I still think he's going to be able to do it. I think we should have done this last year or even the start of this year. We've got a bridge quarterback. We should have used the bridge quarterback. We're looking at and I hate to keep using this, but Green Bay has done a very good job. Other teams have done a very good job of it too. Um, is you have a bridge quarterback that's a veteran, whether you like him or not. I mean, Andy Dalton, Matt Ryan, I mean, they're all kind of in the same category to some extent. So it doesn't really
Mhm.
matter who you have there as a bridge quarterback. I mean, if the guy's coaching and is coachable and is able to coach the rookie,
Hmm.
then you know what? Save these guys' lives. I mean, we're looking right now, not one draft pick that's starting in the NFL from the 20 as a rookie in 2024. There's 0 touchdowns thrown. Caleb Williams is now being compared to the next Bryce Young right now. And
Really?
and and they're oh yeah, Caleb
Wow.
Williams is he's horrible right now.
Because
His quarterback
he's got better weapons. Really?
he does, but they're saying that Chicago's coach is going to be the first coach fired this year, and he might not make it to the end of October.
Dang.
So
Wow.
Chicago, he's already on the hot seat, and on top of that, Caleb Williams, um, uh, Washington. I mean, these rookie quarterbacks are struggling. Not one single touchdown has been thrown out of any starting rookie quarterback this season so far. And there's
Mhm.
something to be said about that. That's why, you look at Green Bay and what they did with Aaron Rodgers that's set behind Brett Favre, whether they got along or not, fit the system, whatever. And then the same with Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Jordan Love, I really didn't have a whole lot of faith in Jordan Love, but last year Jordan Love played pretty well, and he got hurt early this season, but he's back this week. And sitting on the bench and learning behind someone that is a veteran is pretty solid. And when you look at guys like, okay, Ryan Tannehill, that was a late bloomer. You
Late.
look at Ryan Fitzmagic, that has made a career of saving franchises.
Hmm.
You look at Aaron Rodgers, that sat on the bench for years behind Favre to a point where it ended up being an argument between those two because he felt like he was better at Favre at the time.
Uh
And
huh.
then you look at Jordan Love, that was ready to take over Rodgers' spot. And, these guys are prepared now. Bryce is not prepared. And it's not a Bryce Young problem. It's a Bryce Young productivity problem, but it's not a Bryce
Mhm.
Young problem. The guy is undersized. We brought him in. We threw him into the fire with Frank Reich, who likes to have tall quarterbacks, big quarterbacks. He didn't fit the scheme. They didn't want him. They wanted CJ Stroud. Everybody knew that. I wanted CJ Stroud, but I didn't hate the Bryce Young pick at all.
Hmm.
Honestly, I would have said take Will Levis, but just I mean, except that the guy's got a little bit of a maybe some screws loose in the head, but who doesn't? Um, so you look at the quarterbacks that were drafted that year. Look at Pickett. They gave up on him instantly. Where's
Yeah.
he at now? Justin Fields was given up on instantly. Trey Lance was given up on instantly. You're taking these young rookie quarterbacks, you're throwing them out and looking at 6 games on short preseasons and expecting these guys to lead you to the promised land. They're kids. They have not even adapted to taking NFL hits.
Uh,
And it's across the board.
Kenny Pickett's with the Eagles now.
Yeah, he's with the
That's
Eagles.
correct.
That's right.
Yep.
He is with the Eagles. Yep. But I mean, the guy totally got screwed. And now you're looking at, okay, Justin Fields got washed out of Chicago. Guess where he's starting for Pittsburgh now over Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, this guy's actually got something. Trey Lance, I always thought was going to be kind of one of those overhyped guys, so I wasn't really concerned about that. And when you got a guy that was taking the very last pick of the draft that kind of overtook it, but I mean, if we look at everybody's stats right now, Brock Purdy's stats are down this year. Stroud is still playing well, but his stats are down from what it was last year, where he was throwing 300 a game. He's throwing like 240 a game now. I mean, it's not saying he's doing anything less. It's just there's going to be sophomore slumps. He killed it last year. I mean, I like Stroud. I wanted Stroud. You look at Levis, he's struggling with Tennessee. They should have kept Tannehill there to kind of coach this guy up for one more year. And I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it in Cincinnati with quarterbacks. We've seen it in Green Bay. We've seen it in Minnesota over the years. And now we're seeing guys that have been bounced around the league that are now true veterans like Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, that are playing solid football. They're not the best in the league, but they're playing on the level of like a Joe Flacco, Eli Manning, Jay Cutler when he was in his prime. Not great, but I mean, could lead you. I mean, my fantasy teams in the past, I don't draft quarterbacks early. Out of all the years I've won with Philip Rivers, Eli Manning, Jay Cutler, those types of quarterbacks where they're not going to lose the game for you. They're not going to win the game for you. You just need them to come out and get you 24 fantasy points a week, right? And you rely on it. I mean, we've watched Brad Johnson win Super Bowls. We've watched Trent Dilfer win Super Bowls. We've watched Joe Flacco win Super Bowls. I mean, we've watched Fitz Magic come out here and revitalize and save teams. And
Yeah.
that's kind of like what he's known for. And it's like you don't have to have the top quarterback. You got to have someone that can go out there and just play consistent. Don't turn the ball over. Don't force it. Don't play scared. And Bryce right now, and rightfully so, Bryce is scared because he was sacked at what a almost an NFL record last year.
62 times.
That's
Yep.
right, 62 times. That's right. And then this year he comes out and we were playing from behind from the get go. A lot of this problem this year is he's gone through three different coaches, three different offensive systems. It's not a Canales problem. I mean, the preseason's too short. That you got to play with players that you haven't been around. But a veteran like Andy Dalton can step in with a veteran like Deontay Johnson, a veteran like Thielen, and a veteran like Miles Sanders, or even Chuba Hubbard now. It's amazing how, a 3-year player is considered a veteran now. Um, but these are guys that can actually produce because they've been in the game long enough to do it, and they're not learning anymore. They're all they need is a couple of weeks of practice, and let's go. Where Bryce has to learn a whole new system for the third time, because you look at this offensive line, offensive weapons. It's a totally different team than what we had on the field last year. Completely different team. And then when you only play, a practice game where you're not going to get hurt or hit, and you're, red jersey against the Jets where you look fantastic. If they could get him to roll out, and me and Corey's talked about this, and we've agreed 100% on this. Game one, Moton stood out there and stood like a statue. He could not roll out and try to run because what's he going to run around? A guy that's not moving. But then last
Basically
week,
a tree trunk. Yep.
That's right. But then last week, Taylor Moton actually played way better than he did week one. And Bryce didn't run. So there was movement on that end of the side. So I don't know. There's just so many variables, and this team's still rebuilding. It's so complicated to try to dissect it.
Yeah.
But I think this weekend with the veterans in there that we have, with Deontay Johnson, with Thielen, I think you're going to see Leggett start getting. I mean, Leggett wasn't even targeted last week. I mean, Bryce didn't even try to. I mean,
facts.
That's pathetic. He was not even targeted. And I think that this weekend, I mean, there's a lot of analysts out there, and this isn't from local sport talk BS. This is from CBS Saturday morning radio, interviewing guys that cover the Raiders. He's scared of this team this week because he even said, he goes, Andy Dalton is a bridge quarterback that can come out here and throw for 300 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns, get the running game going, step into the pocket instead of falling out of the pocket, and create. And where have we not created? Third down conversions, fourth down conversions, or getting the running game going.
And Chad, you saw Andy Dalton's demeanor in that press conference.
That's right.
Like,
he's ready.
I don't think I've ever seen Andy Dalton smile like that ever. Like the The dude
boy.
looks like he's like salivating
Dude,
for like his
he
next meal.
exactly. And you think about it, Dalton does not have a huge injury background. And maybe some of it was because this year he did have like a hammy injury in preseason. He
Uh-huh.
didn't get to play a whole lot. Maybe that's why we did go with Bryce. I think
Mhm.
at the same time that Canales wanted to evaluate what they had in the quarterback that they did not draft. Um, and I thought it would actually go at least one more week, maybe through week 4.
Uh-huh.
But the plug was pulled because right now you're going to lose your fans, you're going to lose everything.
Right.
But we're still not the only laughing stock of the league. The Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence look absolutely abysmal. The Giants, the Patriots might be just as bad as we are, but all it takes is one change. The Patriots are screwing up by not actually, they're not screwing up. They're playing it safe and calling this year a wash. They're going to let Drake May play as needed and sit all the way through this season, unless an injury happens or they just finally get fed up. Because by the time you get to week 6 or week 7, you know what? Bryce sits here and learns behind Dalton for just a few weeks and sees something from the sideline, and he's given a clip book and he's given a headset and he's sitting there like learning and talking from the sideline. That's going to mean a lot for him. So if Dalton does get hurt week 5, week 6, then guess what? We might have a brand new Bryce coming in with full confidence because right now that kid has zero confidence, and I can't blame him at
Y-
all.
Oh, we got a we got a Raiders fan in the chat. What's up, Nick? He says time to meet Andy Dalton's new daddy and Max Crosby. 28-6 Raiders. Oh, snap.
Oof.
Mm,
I got an
28 to
interesting
6.
comment on mine too.
Dang. Jeff R says Dalton has never lost to the Raiders. He's their daddy. Right, Blitz. Have you heard how excited Dalton is and how happy the locker room was during the interviews? Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And
Andy.
that's true. And it's not that the guys are against Bryce. They understand. Thielen stuck up for Bryce 150% last week. He goes, this is not a Bryce Young problem. He's like, this is a whole offensive problem. And we have to come together. And honestly, when you got a guy like Thielen, Thielen's going to get open. Deontay Johnson's going to get open. And the way Canales is going to rotate those two in the slot is going to be amazing because now how are you going to cover two hands guys, two slot guys? And that's what he did in Tampa.
Right.
And it was rotate them, right? And you get your tight ends involved, which I think we have a very good tight end in Sanders. And I think this week, and I think that's part of the reason that they let Jordan Matthews go and then brought him back into the practice squad because he's an offensive hands guy. He's not a blocker. So I think the Frank guy is coming in to be more for as a fullback type position, a blocking tight end, a fullback type guy, um, which is kind of what we need because when you're going to run that style of offense, you got to have that. I think you're going to see a lot more throws downfield. You're going to see a lot more people open because we're going to be able to establish the run because Bryce is not stepping back into the pocket. He's either trying to roll or he's trying to throw off his back foot. And we all know that's not going to work unless you're Brett Favre in his prime and Bryce is not in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's best for everyone to let Andy come in, win a couple of games. I mean, if we come out and win this week, we're 1-2, right?
Yes.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
and if we come out and we put up more offense than we have in 2 seasons, then there's something to be said about that, and it's not a knock on Bryce. It's
Mm-hmm.
let the guy develop on the sidelines, holding a clipboard and a set of headphones, and being able to communicate with the O coordinator, with the quarterbacks coach, and with Andy, and listen to what's going on from a bird's eye view. And that's what rookie quarterbacks need. Very rarely
I think
do rookie quarterbacks come out and absolutely get thrown in the fire and really show out.
And then
You
I
know,
think you need a mix of both though, because the only way he's going to learn about these defenses really is going to be put out of the field and actually play against them too. So it's kind of half and half. So I'd like to see a mix this year. of Andy coming in and just saving the day, because realistically, we all know that this team's not making the playoffs this year, so we might as well just develop the players, just try to get as many wins as we can, and call it a year. Um, my goal is 5 wins at this point, bare minimum, in order to feel satisfied with just making sure that we are developing players and making sure that everything is clean and techniques, footwork, everything like that is where we want them to be, making progress.
Oh, snap.
Um,
Absolutely.
Mi-
Absolutely. So that's what,
I'm
and
not
that
going
was
to
kind of
ask for
my,
anything more than that, though.
Oh,
no,
snap. Hold
and
up, hold up. Mr. Carolina is in the house. What's up, bro?
Mr. Carolina's back. Hey, what up, man?
What's going on, gentlemen? What's going on with you?
what's up, buddy?
Hey.
Dad, you're in for a rare treat, man.
Awesome.
How have you been?
Well, man, you already know, man. Been blessed, been hanging in there. It's a lot going on, as you know, because you and I talk back and forth. It's been a lot going on in life, so I figure while I had a few minutes, I come over here and chat up with y'all for a few seconds about our beloved Panthers.
Well,
Mr. C, it's good to have you on board, brother.
Appreciate you, Kenfo. Appreciate you indeed. Nice to be
Love it.
on board with the family one more time.
so while you say you got a little bit of time, we want to go ahead and give you the floor tomorrow. Big matchup. I know it's been a while since we played the Raiders.
hmm
Red Rifles at the helm. He's 4-0 against the Raiders. How are you feeling about this?
I feel better about Andy Dalton than I did if we would have started Bryce. And then again, it's not a knock on him. But as we've had these conversations before, I wasn't a fan of drafting him first overall because there's a reason you don't draft 5'9" quarterbacks first overall. There was a legitimate reason why you don't do that. Andy Dalton brings experience to the table. He brings knowledge of the game. He'll bring a slower tempo because the game won't be too fast for him.
That's right.
Bryce,
Exactly.
yeah, Bryce. We did him a disservice last year. I'll just say that honestly to him, we did
Absolutely.
a disservice because that offensive line was god awful. He had one legitimate weapon, but this year we have a top 5 pass protecting offensive line. You have
Do we though?
we do.
We do. We do.
We do. We can't
Mm,
do that. We can't do that. We can't do that. We got to stop making excuses for him. We really do.
that's
We
not an
do.
excuse. That's a legitimate thing. If you believe
Our
No,
that's a
offensive
top
line,
five,
it can't be.
our
no,
Our
no, no,
offensive
no,
offensive
no, no,
line
line,
is
no. If
top
you believe
5.
this is a top 5 offensive line, then that means there's 27 other teams that have a worse offensive line than we do. Use the eye test.
we're
It
actually
does not
ranked
match
right.
up.
We're actually ranked right now in the NFL, and like I said, PFF doesn't matter
I
all
don't.
the way, and I agree. But what I'm saying is statistically, right now, we are ranked number 8 in the NFL on offensive line.
Oh, wow.
Man,
I
I
mean,
mean,
I
there's
don't.
something
I
to be
don't buy
said
that
about that.
ranking. I don't buy
You
that
got to
ranking.
give
I'm
credit where
sorry.
credit is due,
I
man.
don't.
Like I get it as somebody that played the game, and again, I'm not just talking to somebody that played it in like Pop Warner. Like I literally played in high school, college, and semi-pro ball, dude. I'm not just talking just to say certain things. Bryce, you even as an offensive lineman, me as a former corner, as a former linebacker, as a former safety, I know you literally only have about 3 to 5 seconds to get that ball out of your hand.
mhm.
That's all that you legitimately have.
Hmm.
Bryce has had 3 to 5 seconds. Like let's keep it a buck 50.
He
When
he
you add
has.
Last
protection,
last
yes,
year,
I
last year,
agree.
Well,
last year, I would give it that to you. Last year I'd be like, all right, yeah, cool.
last year he
Last year
had
was
zero
awful.
time.
But
Last year
this
he had
year,
zero time. This year
you
he
can't make
is.
that excuse. There's
Yeah,
zero
When
excuse.
he had
you're
the
right.
Zero.
protection, yes, that is true, and he
And
did make
Miss
his own mistakes.
and Mr. C, you are right on that because I saw a stat the other day, and this is part of the reason that led Canales to bench him is because he's got happy feet back there. He won't step back into the
Yep.
pocket, and he is averaging over 3 seconds per snap to get the ball off, and he's not
Oof.
doing it. And when he does, he's throwing interceptions, and it's
You're
like,
you're
Oof.
missing
dude,
receivers.
With
You're
proper
you're like
protection,
you're
that's a fair point.
overthrowing. You're overthrowing Adam Thielen. You're overthrowing Deontay Johnson. Why
Yeah.
is not me and Jason had a conversation the other day when we texted back and forth. Why is our first round draft pick had 0 targets last week?
Right,
0.
exactly,
Yeah,
dude.
good question.
Yeah.
I love you, dude. You're saying everything I
0.
just said before you chimed in, bro. You have said
Like
everything I just said.
that makes no sense. How do you have 18 completions but you have less than 90 yards passing? That doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying he's built this way, and I don't want to keep beating this horse. Cam may have he had an aging Steve Smith, but he did have Greg Olsen. I'll give him that.
Hmm.
He did have
Mhm.
D'Lo. He had Jay Stu.
Hmm.
But but let's keep it a $150. When he had his best season, and we've talked about this before, but we really can't name a number one receiver that he had on that team, but he still made something happen. If you're the number one overall pick, you have to make things happen when there's nothing there. That is why they picked you number one overall, because you make things happen when everything breaks down. That's
That's
just the
right.
Fair
history of the
point.
game.
Yep.
That is
And the
why you're
reason,
number
the
one.
reason,
Nobody said
the
number two.
reason,
You're not number three. You're not number 10. You're not number 15. You're drafted number
Right.
one. We drafted him why? Because he can process. That pick
exactly.
that he had last
Yeah.
Proficiency
week,
processing.
that pick he had last week, you cannot give me an excuse for why he threw in a double coverage, cuz you can't
Yeah,
give me an
I,
excuse.
Yeah, that's a
I have to
fact.
agree. That
Zero.
was
Especially
totally on
especially with
Bryce.
Adam wide open on the other side of the
Adam.
hash marks.
And
Yeah.
as somebody that's played that game, Adam handled it, but I would have threw my helmet on the ground because you're getting
Yep.
pissed off because you realize, and that's the thing, as you get older, especially football players, as we get older, we realize our window is closing. Adam is like, look, bro, I'm not going to sit here and waste my last few years with this guy who's missing me. I'm going to tell you everything you want to hear publicly. That's my guy. I like him. He's cool. But I
Right.
guarantee you, on that ride home, he is cussing him. Like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
please get him out of the game. Jesus Christ. He's talking to his wife about him. These players
Mm-hmm.
are not going to embarrass their own brother. Because again, the locker room is still a brotherhood. I'm not going to embarrass you publicly because that's not
For
my job.
sure.
I still got
Right.
to go to
Especially,
work.
Facts.
I
especially
got to go to work
guys
with
like
you.
Adam Thielen, that is a
He's
very humble
professional.
guy.
Yeah.
He's
And
professional.
and
Absolutely.
you're right, Mr. C. You were right on that because we drafted Bryce because of his proficiency, his
Mm-hmm.
processing skills,
Mm-hmm.
and the smart decision making, and we haven't seen that. Now, last year, I'm giving him a bye. I'm still going to give him a bye this year because I mean he's had three head coaches and three offensive systems in basically at one season and two games. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, and this is what I was trying to talk about with Jason and Corey earlier, was they're throwing these look at this year. Every rookie quarterback. This is a fun stat right here. Caleb
Mm-hmm.
Williams, everybody, all the rookies that are starting right now, 0 touchdowns thrown in 2 games. The average quarterback rating is like 42 out of those three guys. They're compared Caleb Williams to being one of the biggest busts next to Bryce Williams or Bryce Young. Um, and these guys can't process it, and they're not processing quarterbacks like Bryce. And my point I was making earlier is you look at teams that's had success at the quarterback across the years, especially the old school time, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
you have Aaron Rodgers sitting how many years behind Favre, and he comes out and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And you got Jordan Love sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for how many years? And he came out and he finally showed out last year pretty damn good. And this
Mm-hmm.
year he played pretty good until he got hurt, and he's back this week. And you look at what happens, you look at the guys like Justin Fields that was totally thrown in the fire, and now he's the starting quarterback for the Broncos. The Bears gave up on him, and look what they're stuck with. They're stuck with Caleb Williams, who looks like Bryce out there. He can't do anything. He looks terrible. You look at that whole pack, Kenny Pickett. You look at Trey Lance. You look at
Will
Justin
Levis.
Fields, Will Levis. You look at
Yep.
all those guys, man. None of them are performing because they don't have the time. Shortened preseasons,
Mm-hmm.
lack of knowledge of the game, thrown in the fire as a kid, basically, against grown men out there. When you have a perfect bridge quarterback, whether it's a Derek Carr or whether it's a Ryan Tannehill, or whether it's a Ryan Fitzpatrick, or whether it's a Andy
Andy
Dalton.
Dalton.
Right, exactly. You've got a perfect bridge quarterback. So bridge it. Don't just make him the backup when you
And
know Andy
that-
Dalton's thrown for 40,000 yards, 238 touchdowns, and 140 interceptions. That's a pretty damn good career.
Yeah, he's
No
not a
matter
bum.
if you like, he's not a
He's not a
bum.
He has stamped his way in the NFL, and that's what I said. I agree with you on the point that you're making. You have very few quarterbacks that come into the league and hit the ground running, but at the end of the day, Bryce is going to be judged on two things: fair or unfair.
First round
One,
draft pick bust.
you're a first overall draft pick.
Correct.
Two, the guy behind you is killing it. So, fair or unfair, yes, CJ Stroud had a competent head coach his first year, a competent offensive coordinator.
He
And they
also had
surrounded him
weapons.
with you take my point. That's what I'm saying. They surrounded him with pieces
He had Nico
to make
Collins. He
himself
had Tank. He
successful.
had running game.
Yeah.
He also had an offensive
We
line that Bryce
he
didn't
did.
have.
Excuse me, Idioso in the box upstairs. The half a meatball. He set him up preparing from Jump Street. Because first of all, you hired an incompetent head coach that had a losing record before he got here. That's one. Then you assemble this all-star coaching staff, which nobody was on the same page. You can
Oh,
see that from day one.
he's got a point.
Yeah.
You set that young man up for failure from day one. Then you had a stupid head coach that said, I'm going to call the plays. No, wait a minute, Mr. Brown, you can call the plays. No, wait a minute, I'm going to take the plays back. No, wait a minute, I got fired. No, wait a minute, we're going to have a special teams guy to run. Wait a minute, what are we doing here?
Exactly.
It's just like you have all these moving pieces, but now you have a head
Right.
coach. Maybe he may be a first-year head coach. Cool. That is why I was not in favor of not playing Bryce in the preseason. I was not in favor of that because this is your first time with Dave Canales.
Mhm.
This is Dave Canales' first time being the head of the ship.
Yep.
So you guys, all that stuff in practice looks cool. You're gonna look real good against our defense. No disrespect, but you're gonna look real good because we can't touch you.
Right.
Our defense can't hit you.
Fair point.
So get him out in the preseason in your offense, sir, so we can really see, and not against second string guys that are going to be pushing cars and doing somebody's taxes here in a few months. We don't want to see them against those guys. I want to see them against guys that are actually going to play. So I was not in favor of that. Now, the two games that he did play, the first game, Jay and I was talking about it because I was away, taking care of some family business. I'm sitting here watching it. I had to take a few shots because I was so pissed off watching the game. I had to take a few shots.
He did. He did.
I had to take a few because I'm sitting here looking at it like I didn't expect us to beat the Saints, but that was embarrassing.
Very.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And as somebody whose family is from Louisiana, it's like I'm torn because it's like, okay, my other hometown team is winning, but I bleed Carolina blue, so it's like I don't know
Right.
what to
You have
do
to
here.
understand they
and you know
beat
what?
the
It
Dallas
actually,
Cowboys
like,
in a beatdown the next week.
well,
So
and
that's a
that was
legit
it.
team.
The
And-
highlight of last week was okay. So they're actually the real deal. They look
They
good.
are.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
built.
But
And
it's
and
the
and,
fact
and you
that-
know what? I was actually kind of high on when we chased Carr there briefly to bring
Mhm.
him in. It was like, dude, bring him in and let's not waste draft picks on the quarterback. Let's do it in a year or two and bring Carr in because I think Carr got robbed in Oakland.
That would have been
Right.
the smart thing to do.
So
Right
That
let
would have
before it
been
was
the smart thing to do.
so let me ask y'all
Yeah.
this. Let me ask y'all
Mhm.
this because it was just thinking, especially as y'all are making your points. Is drafting a quarterback number one overall, is it more of a trap than a benefit?
It's a trap, in my opinion. I think it's way more of a trap. I think you can go in and get a quarterback later in the first round or the second round, let him play behind a bridge quarterback, and you can be just as good. When was Jordan Love drafted? Okay, let's look at when Aaron
fair point.
Rodgers was drafted.
Yeah.
Let's look at when
Yeah.
these quarterbacks were drafted. Look, when was and I don't like this guy, but when was Russell Wilson drafted? When was, I mean, you look at a lot of players, a lot of quarterbacks in the league, first round draft picks don't always.
So Jordan Love was round 1, pick 26.
Right. And that's probably around when Aaron Rodgers was drafted, if I'm not mistaken.
Russell,
And
let's see, Russell
Russell
Wilson.
Wilson was like a third round pick because he had a baseball
third
option.
round.
Okay, I'm gonna just
Yeah.
interject with this one very quickly, and then I say y'all can just. I would say depends on the player and situation
Okay.
because y'all
That's a
remember,
solid point.
we had the guy first overall that came in and was killing everything. We had that guy. We threw him into the fray and said, "Hey, Cam, do your thing."
Mm-hmm.
Cam did his thing. Indy said, "Hey, Peyton, do your thing." Peyton did his. He was the first year. Let me not say the first year was rough. It was bad.
Yes. Yeah. And you go back.
But,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
he
real
recovered.
bad. It was real bad.
He recovered though.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. It depends when you come first overall. There are certain qualities that you're saying. If I'm drafting first overall, I'm saying you have certain qualities that the other players do not have. You have certain attributes that I don't want to wait until 2, 3, 4, 23, 45, whatever you are. I don't want to wait because I know that there's something about you
mm-hmm.
that the other guys cannot do. That is why I say it depends on the player. You have to be an exceptional player to go first overall. There's a reason you're first overall. And to me, that's what said it was not a knock. And everybody can say, well, nobody can say nothing bad about Bryce. Why the hell would I tell you something bad about Bryce? Carolina, go ahead and do something stupid and draft a 5'9", 185-pound quarterback soaking wet with a football helmet on first overall. That's something that's never done in the history of the NFL. Why would I tell you not to do it? You'd be stupid not to. Go ahead and draft a small guy. We're going to take the guy behind him that we really want. That's what I'm saying. When he came out, I was looking at it. It was not to knock on him, but there was a reason a quarterback of that stature was never drafted first overall because there was nothing. And I said, again, I'll reiterate this, not a knock against Bryce. Bryce has nothing that stands out to you that says, you know what? His arm is, wait a minute, it's not better. His feet, wait a minute, it's not better. Wait a minute, that's not better either. What do you do, good buddy, that is better than the guy that was drafted behind you? There was nothing there. But he scored. I swear to God, I hope they get rid of that stupid test.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh
Get
yeah.
rid of the test.
Hey, do you know who was one of the worst ever to pass that? One of the worst scores
Wonderlic
ever
test.
for that, the
Mhm.
Wonderlic test. Do you know that Frank Gore scored like a 10?
Oh, jeez.
I did
Yeah,
not know
it
that.
was like the worst in
Wow.
history. Frank Gore,
And he's
and
a Hall
look
of
how
Famer.
That's crazy.
And
look how
he's
many
a Hall of
years-
Famer.
Yikes.
And
It just shows.
look how many years that guy played and what he did.
That
And
test is nothing but for the GM. Not to cut you off, and I'm my bad. I just
no,
wanted
you
to
good, bud.
make a point real quick. That's for the GMs and that's for the people sitting in the booth that have something to talk about. A football player is a football player, fellas.
That's for corporate America.
If you know how to
Yeah.
play this game, you know how to play the game. Most of us have
Yeah.
been playing the game. Remember, I played from the age of 5 to 31. You played the game for a long time. You know the X's and O's. You know the intricacies of everything that's going on. You know how to play the game. Ain't no test going to tell me how to play football. I'm sorry. It's not going to do it. So you can be as smart as you want to, but when a 300-some-pound man is flying at you, all that brain smart is not helping you, cousin. It's not helping you.
Facts.
Facts.
Can you get the
Facts.
ball out? Can you put it in a
Right.
position where your
You gotta-
receiver can type the running back and catch the ball? Matter of fact,
Especially, I'm
if the play
sorry.
breaks down, no, you're good. If the play breaks down, then you get your ass out of the pocket and go get me a first down.
Right.
And here's like a good comparison is who's the highest paid players in the NFL? It's the quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to protect your quarterbacks. You're trying to keep them here. I mean, I still can't believe that Dak Prescott, nothing against Dak or his game. I'm not a fan of the Cowboys, and I don't think Dak's worth his money. But I mean, They have re-signed this guy to 2 super huge extensions. And what it comes down to is it's almost like a comparison to your number 1 or number 2 pitcher for a baseball team, right? Because I'm a huge baseball guy and I watch a lot of analytics in baseball. And,
Same here.
so you get it. So if you watch baseball, you're paying all this money for a guy that could go down tomorrow with Tommy John surgery instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, instantly. You go into a Major League Baseball draft for fantasy, and yeah, it's just fantasy. But I'm in a dynasty league that's been going on for 22 years. And 2 of my freaking starting pitchers this year went out for the year. It wasn't really for Tommy John, but they shut him down because why? Because he's a $300 million man. And they're not going to bring him back and ruin the next 5 or 6 years that's left because it's all guaranteed money. So the money plays so much of a factor on it that this is what Canales wanted to do this year, was to evaluate Bryce Young and the guys that were brought in, not by even Morgan, because Morgan wasn't even really on board with a lot of the draft picks or even the free agent signings and trades that say Mr. Federer had in the past, right? So they kind of cleaned house on everything that Matt Rule brought in. They made it their own. They didn't draft Bryce Young either. So that doesn't mean that they're not going to stick up for him, but they wanted to analyze what they had in this guy. And, honestly, like I said earlier, Jason, I really thought that they would probably go week 3, week 4, kind of squash this year out, but they didn't. And I'm glad they didn't, because honestly, Bryce should have sat behind Andy Dalton last year, at least for the first half of the season.
Oh shoot!
Then,
that's a fair point.
I just got an ESPN notification. Young, a trade target. Several teams have expressed interest in trading for Panthers quarterback Bryce Young.
Yeah, there's teams
there was
like
the rumor going around that he was interested in moving around, but
shoot,
the coach doesn't want him to move. So,
no, the coach is going to stick by him right now.
Yeah.
So, and that's fair, because they haven't had a true evaluation of the. Honestly, we haven't had a true evaluation of the guy at all.
Point. Yeah.
We haven't at all. I mean,
Right.
3 different offensive systems in 18 games. That is uncalled for. That's not fair to young Bryce, man. Bryce is a great guy, and he is smart, and he's young, and he's humble, and we don't have to worry about him shooting himself in a strip club or